Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another new reviews discussion. As per usual, I'm Brad. We've got Steve here, and we have a special guest, Steve's friend, Jeff. Say hi, Jeff.
What up, guys? This is Jeff here. First time on this discussion board thing, so quite excited to join in.
Today we're going to be discussing the Smash Ballot. Now, for those of you who don't know, on April 1st, Nintendo released a Nintendo Direct, and they talked about a whole bunch of games coming out for the Wii U and 3DS in 2015. One of the more highlighted things was the Smash Ballot, which was a way for fans to submit choices that they would want for Nintendo to turn into DLC characters for Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS. Thousands of fans have submitted their votes for realistic characters and unrealistic characters, first party and third party, and we're here to talk about a handful of them. So take it away, Steve.
Alright, before we get started, I would like to read off a tweet that Sakurai himself posted on his Twitter, and I'm gonna quote this. So, note that new fighters is a huge process, so we won't be able to make that many. Which means besides Mewtwo and Lucas, there is going to be at least 2 more fighters, but probably not more than, I want to say maybe 4 or even 3. But there's a good chance of more characters, so that's pretty exciting. And to the list itself, I compiled a list of popular and very likely characters that will be showing up. And this includes returning and axed characters, first party characters, third party, and final category is stupid, never gonna happen characters. So let's get started. First off, we got Wolf. Wolf is a character from Star Fox. He was in Brawl, and then he got axed when Smash 4 came out, although Fox does retain his moveset as custom moves. What are the chances of him showing up?
I know that Wolf is one of the characters that a lot of people missed when Wii U and 3DS came out. I personally wasn't a big fan of Wolf, but, you know, I wasn't a big fan of the whole Star Fox characters to begin with. It's possible, since he's such a fan favorite, he may be one of the returning characters if we go under this formula that there's one returning character and then one highly requested character. I know Mewtwo's technically a returning character, but we're just going to skim that to the side. I think there's a chance that he'll make it. You hold a point with the fact that Fox has his moveset as custom moves, but I think that his chance is better than a lot of the other axed characters. What do you think?
I feel the same way, yeah. He's definitely near like maybe top 5 or 10 of the ballot, but since Fox has almost all of his custom moves and even has like a Fox outfit or skin, it's gonna be tough seeing him making it back over others, but I still say he has a good chance of making it high, but as making it as a DLC character, it's gonna be hard to see.
Well, in my opinion, I mean, it really depends. There's always that potential that a new Star Fox could come out for the Wii U, and along with that, they might be able to bring him in as a DLC just to celebrate that new release after so many years from the last major Star Fox game. Plus, they already have the basic mechanics from Brawl. They just would need to tweak it to balance it out for this new rendition of Smash. Just give him a decent moveset, enhance his animation when they bring him into Smash 4, but I would say that he does have the highest chance overall compared to the other axed characters.
Strong words there. Alright, let's move on to Snake. Snake from Metal Gear Solid. He showed up in Brawl as a guest third-party character along with Sonic, but now that Konami is giving Kojima the boot, and Kojima was the one begging Sakurai to add him in Melee and then finally getting him in Brawl, he might have a tough time getting as DLC.
I'm with you on that one. It would be tough to see Snake come back due to the fact that Kojima and that whole scenario is going down, the bad blood there. While it is free marketing, especially with the Phantom Pain coming out, it's good publicity, but I really don't think Snake's gonna make it. It just seems too unlikely with the current state of affairs, and fans of Snake are just gonna have to deal with it.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, I think Snake was more of a one-hit wonder with Brawl. Going back to what Brad was saying with the whole bad blood between Sakurai and Kojima. Well, Konami, I should say. I really don't see Snake coming back unless there's some major title that comes to the Wii U in the future. Other than that, I don't see much chances for him.
Yeah, that's a shame, because that only happened like 2-3 weeks ago. So like if that haven't happened at least until this time, I would have said maybe he had a chance. But now Konami even took off his name off the website, off board of directors, like even on the games itself. Like if you look up the box art for Metal Gear Solid 5 or even older games, they took off the A Kojima game like taglines that's found on all the boxes. So that's, yeah, something big's happening there. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, this sucks because I enjoyed Snake and he was someone that I wanted to get good with in Brawl, but I couldn't do it. But I don't know, maybe another lifetime, Snake. Next up we got Roy from Fire Emblem, I believe. I don't know which number, but he showed up in Melee as a clone for Marth. He was also included because of marketing purposes, because his game was coming out at the same time when Melee was coming out, and he got axed in Brawl and he didn't show up again in 4. What are the chances of him showing up as DLC?
You know, I'll give Roy a little more credit for the sole fact of SMT cross Fire Emblem. Just because that game exists and we know it's coming out, there is a red-haired character in there that could be Roy.
I don't think that's Roy.
It's probably not Roy, but the good chance I imagine that Roy has to come back. I wouldn't put him as a top contender though. But, you know, he's got a better chance than Snake.
And I mean, I gotta agree. I feel like Roy has a better chance than Snake since the whole Fire Emblem series is starting to really take off over here in the West, as well like around the world as well. Should Roy come back in that new series? I mean, I'm not sure. Like you guys said, I haven't personally heard of this new crossover. But I mean, should Roy appear for some reason, then I don't see why he couldn't be included.
I feel that there's already 4 Fire Emblem characters in this game, and that's saying a lot. Like, they were even going to include Prom, but he ended up getting axed because he was way too similar to, I guess, Marth and other characters as well. So Crom got the axe for that in favor of Robin, who's a much more original character.
Indeed.
And Roy was more or less a clone of Marth back in Melee, so I'm not sure if they were to include him, I'm not sure how much he'll be changed up, and I don't know, his relevancy to, I guess, the Fire Emblem series is not much there, because every game tends to have different characters. He did show up in the latest one, but as like a DLC character. I'm not sure if he's going to show up in the crossover game, but if anyone's going to show up from that game, it's probably going to be more like, I guess, anime-styled character from that. But yeah, I don't think he's going to have a good chance. I mean, I want to see him back. I mean, there's a lot of fans of Roy out there. A lot of fans. But I don't think we're going to be seeing him as DLC. And let's see. Next up, we got Tetra and Toon Zelda. I know they were going to be considered as a possible character for Brawl, but that was axed sometime in development. But I feel that now could be a good time for them to show up again.
I know Tetra or Toon Zelda or Toon Ganondorf have been wanted characters for a while now. I like the idea of Tetra coming in. I think it would be kind of a welcome change, especially if they actually do something different with her instead of just making her a cartoonish Zelda. Give her her own unique Final Smash. If you base it around her pirate persona, it would be really fun. If we're going simply by fans and popularity of the series, considering that the Wind Waker HD was a driving force towards Wii U sales in the early stages of its life, I could see Tetra as a possible DLC character in the future. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, I'm gonna admit I'm not one to play the Legend of Zelda series. I have not touched a single edition of it. Ooh. But I'm familiar with a few of the characters. I'm not familiar with Tetra, but Toon Zelda, I mean, you have the Toon version of Link technically, or the young version of Link. I mean, I don't see why Zelda shouldn't be able to get her own version of it, just for general purposes, really, just to keep it kind of balanced like that. I mean, it would look nice, and considering that Legend of Zelda is a very, very popular series, it can even like help promote the series even more. Should they bring her out as a DLC character? I mean, I would say her chances are pretty high considering the amount of followers they have for the series.
One thing that Sakurai left out in this game was transformations. So if Tetra's going to be in, or Toon Zelda, chances are it's just going to be one or the other. Personally, I hope it's Tetra because Tetra was much more of a unique character. She was more developed than just simply a, I guess, reincarnation of Zelda. She's a pirate, she has her own crew, she has a ship, she's pretty cool. But chances of her being a transformation type like Sheik and Zelda, it's gonna be hard. Related to, I guess, the characters who are axed due to weird technical difficulties was Ice Climbers. Showed up in Melee and Brawl, due to 3DS version wasn't included because they weren't able to get it running on 3DS. They did have a working model for Smash Wii U, but then got axed, I guess, late in development, which is a bit of a shame. But on my list, I added the S in brackets because there could be a chance of Ice Climbers just showing up as a single Ice Climber. How do you guys feel about that?
I really don't like that idea. I mean, the big thing about the Ice Climbers was the fact that there were two of them, and you had to work with that. That's where the big strategy came in. If you just make it one Ice Climber, it kind of takes away their whole shtick. It kind of makes them a silly addition, and there are far better single characters that you could put in. If they can't, in my opinion is if they can't get the Ice Climbers to work as a duo, then the Ice Climbers just shouldn't be in it.
I'd have to agree with that. I mean, the whole, like, everyone knows the Ice Climbers. This is duo, like, brother-sister combo where they just, like, work together throughout all of Melee and Brawl. And you see all those combos that they pull off on YouTube or during a stream or whatever. Taking that out, essentially, just, like, you're just gonna have to change the entire character, period. And that's just a lot more work that needs to be done on the character. I mean, I heard through the rumor mill that Popo, the blue Ice Climber, would just come as a solo character if he were to appear, but I personally don't like that idea as well. I mean, again, it's just gonna have to rework the entire character.
Yeah, that would be a heavily drastic change to the character. Although in Japan, Ice Climbers was just referred to Ice Climber, just as the original NES game. When you played that game, you only controlled Popo or Nana, depending on, I guess, single player or two players. If they do like a single player thing, I guess you could switch between the two as, like, you know, different skins or whatever. But yeah, I think like a drastic change to the character would be pretty off-putting to I guess most players and fans of the character. Okay, let's move on now to new possible newcomers for, I guess, Nintendo characters that could show up in Smash 4. I picked a few that seem pretty likely and aren't from franchises that are not as represented as others, so I kept away from Pokemon and Mario. But I know there's a few others that you guys could feel free to mention, so I'm just going to start off these and then afterward you guys can bring up anything else. First off, I got Inkling from Splatoon. Splatoon's not out yet, but it's a third-person shooter coming out soon, I believe in May. It's pretty cool. It's got a cool mechanic dealing with, like, turning into a squid, sliding around on ink, you get super soakers and stuff. It's on multiplayer. Seems pretty cool. And as a cool tie-in promotion, they could include an Inkling as a character. And you could probably do a lot of cool stuff with an Inkling. Like, you got different kinds of guns, you got that, like, roller, turn to a squid. A lot of potential there. What do you guys think?
You said it. There's a lot of potential there for movesets. There's a lot of potential for marketing. The game's coming out, and Nintendo is really pushing it. If people are wanting a Splatoon character, we're probably getting a Splatoon character.
Well, I mean, going along with that, they're even going so far as to releasing a set of amiibo that comes with both the male and the female characters from Splatoon, and then the Inkling itself as a package of 3. So if they really want to push sales for Splatoon, I see no reason why they wouldn't add a Splatoon representative into Smash as a DLC. And again, there's some totally new characters. There's so much you can do with it based on just the gameplay trailers itself, that it's just so much you can do with it. I don't see why they wouldn't bring him in at one point or another.
I'd be pretty content if Inkling showed up. That'd be cool. Alright, next up we got King K. Rool from Donkey Kong Country. I feel this might be a bit of a weird choice, because definitely been really popular character. People have been wanting him since Melee. But the thing with Nintendo is, like, with their recent Donkey Kong Country Return games, they haven't been using Kremlings. It's been like this weird, like, tiki weird, like, stuff. But Sakurai is the only one that's throwing a bone to Rare and Donkey Kong Country because they included Kremlins as characters that show up in Smash 1 for Smash Bros. 3DS. So if anyone in Nintendo is going to let King K. Rool show up, it'll be Sakurai, even though he doesn't even work at Nintendo anymore. What do you guys think?
I think he'd be an interesting choice. He's got potential for movesets. There's Donkey Kong Country where he was a pirate. There's DK64 where he was huge and he had a boxing moveset. And there's stuff you can work with. It's from one of Nintendo's core franchises, and I mean they're bringing DK64 to the Wii U Virtual Console. That wasn't even on the Wii Virtual Console, I think. So if sales show that game sells, and people are wanting that character, I'd say that they give it consideration. I'm not gonna say his chances are fantastic, but I think it'd be a really interesting addition, especially since we don't have a lot of villains representing in Smash Bros.
I would say he has a decent chance. Again, going back to his potential for movesets, you have so many different variations of him that there's you can make anything really his base set, and then there's so much to go off of to make his custom moveset as well. Again, it's a core franchise for Nintendo, so obviously it has a good following. If it's popular enough once the newer renditions come out of Donkey Kong for Wii U, I don't see why he won't be considered as a potential character. Again, it's a totally new character. Obviously, a lot of work needs to be put into development, but I still see potential for it.
Let's see, Geno.
My man, Geno.
Geno.
My man.
Geno's been a really, really, really big fan favorite since Brawl. A lot of people have been wanting Geno since Brawl, or even Melee. Let's see, he shows up in Super Mario RPG, which is a collaboration with Square Enix, and only had one cameo since, and I don't remember the game, but he has a cameo in another Nintendo game. The problem with Geno is that there's a really weird licensing issue, since Square Enix developed a game, and I'm led to believe that Square Enix is in charge or owns the property rights of Geno. So they're gonna have to ask permission in order to get him in. They haven't really done much with Super Mario RPG, so if there's a way to get some promotion going for that game, which is considered a great game, Geno showing up would be a great way of getting up that relevancy again.
I have been wanting Geno for so long. Super Mario RPG was my jam. I'd be so pumped if he made it. But Sakurai has said on so many levels and so many times that he's not making it. I don't even know if the collective voices of all the children in the world crying out Geno's name is enough of an emphasis to get him in the game. I mean, he's got the potential for movesets. You're right, he did cameo. I believe it was one of the Mario and Luigi games. He had a little mini game cameo.
Yes, he did. Back in the very first one, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, when you first enter the first level where you have to do the jump rope, I believe. No, actually another mini game. Never mind. Sorry, but yeah, he did show up.
As much as I love Geno, as much as I would love for him to be included, I'm not sure it's gonna happen. He would get all my votes. If I had 20 votes, he'd get 19. One would go to Shovel Knight. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't know how well Square Enix is with them on using using property like that. So it's a real mystery.
Well, I mean, as obvious as it is, Geno was one of my favorite characters back in the SNES days. Super Mario RPG was a big part of my childhood. It still is today. I still pick it up and play every now and then. But the potential for Geno's movesets is just insane. Just based on the fact that he has so many, if you've ever played the game before, the different equipments give him different projectile moves, so he can definitely be a perfect spacing character. And his special moveset could be anything ranging from his Geno Beam to Geno Boost or something. Star Rain, I believe, was one of the movesets as well. Geno is just amazing character overall, but again, we're not sure how well Square Enix is with Nintendo with the property rights. We don't know how much they like to collaborate with each other. I just feel like if the only way we'd probably be able to get him in is if we have a big enough following and a big enough representation through the Smash ballot to even have the potential to bring him in.
Yeah, if there's one way to get Geno noticed, it would definitely be through the Smash ballot. Nintendo and Square Enix has collaborated a few times in recent years, so there might be a relationship there. They worked together on the Mario Hoops 3-on-3 game, which featured Mario and some Final Fantasy characters in there. I forgot about that. Yeah, there was also Fortune Street, which is like a Monopoly-esque Mario Party-ish game, which featured characters from Dragon Quest and Mario. So there's a good chance that Square could give permission to Sakurai to develop the character. Personally, I haven't played Super Mario RPG, so I have no worship for this character, so sorry to say, but I really don't care if he gets in or not. I mean, I don't mind him, but I feel there's a lot more other choices that I'd rather see in the game aside from Geno. But if it gets, like, if it takes, like, this to, like, shut you guys up, so, whatever, okay. It's like, I feel, like, the way I feel for, like, Ripley, it's the same way I feel for Geno. I just want you guys to shut up.
Obviously, I mean Ridley, not Ripley. I apologize for that.
I don't know what I want to see more. You guys to shut up or you guys to suffer?
Well, maybe you should go play the game and get an appreciation for the game, and then you'll come back and revisit the topic.
My backlog's way too big. I'm going to be like 80 when I get a chance to play that. Alright, I'm going to just cram these next three together because I haven't played any of these games, but I feel like they all have like maybe about the same chance or so. We have the robot from Chibi Robo. We also have Ray from Custom Robo. And along with the theme is Course Kids, who are not a robot, but they show up in Rhythm Heaven. They're all, I guess, cult classic kind of games for Nintendo. They do have a small following. I believe it was rumored that Course Kids were going to show up in Smash 4, but that didn't really happen. But what do you guys feel on these three characters?
I think, let's see here, Custom Robo I never really played. Course Kids, I think I played one of those games very briefly. My skills with rhythm games are minimal, to say the least. So, but I know that Course Kids is one of those games where it was one of those characters that everyone thought was going to be in the game because there's an enemy in Smash Run that is based from that series. So, Course Kids possibly has a chance. The Custom Robo, I'm not familiar with the game. I don't know the potential for the movesets, but given the custom in the name, I assume lots of possibilities there. What was the third one again?
Chibi Robo.
Chibi Robo. I don't know how popular Chibi Robo is, honestly. I know we've had a recent game. It was like a alternate reality game or something like that. I don't know how well that sold. I know I didn't buy it. I guess if people like it, it's got the possibility, but I mean, I certainly wouldn't go for it. It would not. There just seems like more characters that deserve that spot than Chibi Robo.
Well, out of those three games mentioned, the only one I played was Custom Robo back in the GameCube days. Again, I believe that game was a very close niche game. Not many people really knew about it or played it, but from what I saw, from what I remember, Custom Robo Ray in particular has a very, very vast potential for movesets. Since you can change, like in the game at least, you can change his armor set to change his speed, change his knockback ability. You can change whether he has power bombs that have huge knockback, huge damage, or small little mines or whatever that just you can just repeatedly use. So, if anything, he'd be used more as a spacing character. But again, there's just that vast potential for a moveset, for character development. But I haven't played much. I haven't even played actually Rhythm Heaven or Chibi Robo, so I can't input much about it. But if there's a decent following for either one of them, there's always a potential. You never know.
Yeah, because all these characters are just so like niche. It's just like it's kind of hard to see like how far they'll like end up in the ballots. Like, there's definitely potential for all three characters when it comes to movesets. Definitely Ray in particular, but I really don't know how far they'll go. I did find out about Ray and Custom Robo through like one of the trophies on Melee, and then he showed up as a trophy getter in Brawl. I'm not sure if he's won in this game. I don't remember, but I think it would be cool if any three would show up. But realistically, if they're gonna end up as DLC, I feel it's a bit doubtful. Finally, at least on my list, I have Bandana Dee. He shows up in quite a number of Kirby games. What makes him special is he wears a bandana and he has like a little spear thingy. They could poke people with it. I used to think that he's a bit of like a niche character as well. Like what makes him so special? But he just keeps showing up in a lot of Kirby games as of late. Like he showed up in I guess the latest one, the Rainbow Curse. Showed up in that. He also showed up in the other Wii game. He shows up a lot, so I'm like, okay, maybe there is a following for Bandana Dee. What do you guys think?
Bandana Dee has a following. I saw multiple threads wanting him in Brawl. People came up with movesets for him. People want the character. And Kirby is a pretty underrepresented series. I mean, you have Kirby, D2D, and Meta Knight. But there are a lot of characters there that have potential for interesting movesets. Bandana Dee's one of them. It's Sakurai's child. If people want a character in a Sakurai game, I think he's probably going to be inclined to make it. We saw how much favor he gave to Kid Icarus. So I could see Bandana Dee happening if he's got high enough votes.
Well, I remember my first time seeing Waddle Dee as a playable character, or just Waddle Dee in general without the bandana, was back in Kirby 64 Crystal Shards.
Oh yeah.
In one of the minigames, the paint minigame, I remember specifically. And then afterwards, I just keep seeing him pop up as a playable character from then on, and I've heard people actually really like him as a character, but I feel like he'd be more of like one of those silly characters that you just throw in just for fun, really. But he has the potential to be a character with enough of a following. I feel like I'd probably pick him up just for fun, honestly. He seems like a fun character to use.
Yeah, I think he could be pretty cool, although... Really, how much can you do with with just a sphere? I mean, you could say the same thing about morphing with a sword, but sword seen as a weapon, but a spear. I can't just get that idea out of my head. Like, it's a spear. It sounds so boring, but I don't know. Maybe if he does show up as a DLC, he'll prove me wrong. Hope he does. Before we go on to third party, is there any other Nintendo characters you guys want to bring up?
I know it's really a joke character, but there's been a bit of an internet push for Lanky Kong.
No.
And
Lanky Kong.
Another DK representative. If he's got a lot of votes, I think Sakurai could put him in.
No.
But it's one of those characters where you don't really want to see it, but at the same time, you're kind of like, I want to know what you do with him. Well, I want to know how you'd handle this.
You could do a lot with Lanky. You could get in his grape sniper thing. He's got stretchy arms, but
he's got no style and he's got no grace.
He's got a funny face. But him getting over King K. Rool, not gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's likely either.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. Lanky Kong was my favorite Donkey Kong 64, but it's just this weird meme thing going on, and I don't want to contribute to that. What about you, Jeff?
Well, Steve and I had this discussion, just barely grazed the surface on this. I feel like there's the potential, I feel like it should be included, a grass starter for one of the Pokemon series, particularly Sceptile from Gen 3. I mean, you already have Greninja representing Gen 6, the water starter. You have Charizard representing Gen 1, the fire starter. You have Pikachu, your electric starter from back in Pokemon Yellow. I don't see why they wouldn't bring in a grass starter just to complete that set, you know what I mean? And out of the starters that I've seen, the only potentials are Ivysaur from back in Brawl. They already have that moveset set up. Chestnut from Gen 6, but since Greninja already took the slot for Gen 6, I highly doubt Chestnut would come in. And Sceptile. And Sceptile has such a wide range of moveset based on his Pokemon. movesets that he can be played both as a close range character with Leaf Blade, Quick Attack, and stuff, to a range character using Seed Bomb, using Solar Beam and such. So, I mean, again, the Pokemon franchise is already heavily represented, especially since Mewtwo's coming out as a DLC soon. But, I mean, I would just like to see the set completed.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest issue with Sceptile showing up. Is like, I'm sure he'd be a great character, but there is way too many Pokemon characters in this game, even though there's like, what, over 700 now. You got Pikachu, you got Jigglypuff, you got Mewtwo, you got Lucario, you got Greninja, and you got Mewtwo coming out soon. That's 6 right there. That's almost on par with like as much as like Mario characters. And since Mewtwo took up like already 1 slot for a DLC, it's just really hard for me to see another Pokemon as DLC.
It's just wishful thinking, really, just to complete the set, I believe.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next guy. And for this one, we're going to have to backtrack, because I completely forgot that Issac is a first-party character, because he was in Golden Sun, which is for the DS. I haven't played the game, but I know he has a large following as well, with a few of the other characters we mentioned. He had an assist trophy in Brawl, and it looks to me like he would have a pretty cool moveset. Opinions?
I think I played 1 Golden Sun game in my entire life, and I don't think I got very far in it. I know that he's got the following, and he's got enough moves that you can make a good moveset out of. As you said, he was an assist trophy, but is no longer. People want him. I don't know if Nintendo would be too, like, gung-ho about creating him, like, super quickly, but I know the fans want him. And if this is truly, you know, what the fans want, with some exceptions, then he has as good a chance as a lot of other characters of getting in.
For Issac, I mean, I've played the Golden Sun series. I actually have it on my Wii U installed, and I've been slowly playing through it. And the amount of customization you can do with that character is just crazy. Just by sheer setting the Jin that you get throughout the game, you can just setting different combinations of Jin can give you just completely different magic spells that you can use, which opens up a wide array of different potential movesets, potential custom movesets for the character. I know Issac has a good following in the RPG community. They would love to see him pop up as a DLC character, but I don't think he's that popular enough throughout the community as a whole to be able to hold the spot. But again, if it's a big enough following, there's no reason why he shouldn't make an appearance.
Alright, yeah, that's kind of more or less what a lot of these kind of boils down to. It's just like all depending on the following. But I think it's kind of a weird balance. Like, what should be more significant in terms of choosing a character? Should it be the following or the versatility of a character? Ideally, it would be balanced of both, but either way, it'd be disappointing to someone. But before we get into that, let's just kind of move on to other characters, because we still have a lot to go through. Alright, next up we got third-party characters. Hasn't been any indication of whether or not we'll be seeing any third-party characters, but I'm sure, since this is a public ballot, there are going to be tons of people recommending characters from all sorts of franchises. And what I got compiled in this like tiny little list are a lot of ones that I see that tend to show up a lot in discussions. And I really could kind of like go through this a bit quickly because I got a lot here. But let's just start off with Bomberman. Bomberman from Hudson. Recently got bought out by Konami. My number 1 third-party choice. Definitely could do a lot with Bomb moveset. I think if he was in Sakurai's hands, there could be like a bit of a revival, just like Mega Man got. So he's Bomberman. Come on. What do you guys feel about him?
I mean, personally, Bomberman was always a really fun game to play. I mean, it's something I'd spend hours on playing with my friends back in the day. There is a huge potential for a moveset, and he is a very well-known character. So, and I assume he has a really high following. So there's that high potential for him to make it as a character.
Kind of agree. I mean, Bomberman is it's classic. He's a fan favorite. I know I'd like to see him. Bomberman games are some of like the games I grew up with. They're some of the games I have more fond memories of. I love the shit out of the Bomberman 64 games. Those games were my jam. I don't think I ever beat them, but they were my jam. I'd love to see a Bomberman game with like skins that were the different Bomber characters. And so, as far as third party goes, given that they've done what they've done with Mega Man and Pac-Man, I think Bomberman has a pretty good chance at it. Not just because he has man in his name.
But yeah, you gotta make it a more manlier game. You got Mega Man, Pac-Man, why not, add in Bomberman? That's like the most manliest game right there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and also there has been a relationship between Bomberman and Nintendo since there's just one like really obscure game, which was Bomberman Wario crossover game for the Game Boy. I played it one time on like this weird emulator on like a German plane once. I don't remember much of it, but it was kind of cool. I just really want to see Bomberman, up and fighting again. He did show up in that like weird one like Konami fighting game that's very Smash Bros-esque, where like Snake and Optimus Prime showed up as well. It's really weird, but I just really want to see Bomberman in this game. Next up, we got Simon Belmont, another character from Konami, but hasn't been represented yet, from Castlevania. Really big series. Although I don't think it's been as popular as it was since the NES days, or even like since the PlayStation. But there's been a lot of people who want Simon Belmont. You could definitely do a lot. He has a whip. You could use a lot of his other weapons too, like I guess Holy Water, and like that weird crucifix he throws, axes, whatever. There's a lot you can do. Thoughts?
Simon Belmont, I'd love to see. As you said, he's got a whole wider range of abilities, weapons to use, and he's a classic iconic character. People love the Castlevania series. I love some of the games in the Castlevania series. I think my first was Dawn of Sorrow, which I'm not entirely sure is one of the more favorite ones. I don't know. But I think I would love to see Simon Belmont. I think he'd make a really interesting character, and he's kind of different from all the other characters that we have so far. I know he's not technically quote-unquote realistic, but he'd be just about the most realistic character that would be in the roster as is. I guess next would be Link or Marth, but you know where I'm kind of getting at with this thing. He'd have a greater way. There's a lot of things that you can work with for his moveset, for his final smash. People want him. People love the series. And Castlevania has been a seller. I imagine a pretty good seller on Nintendo, on plenty of Nintendo consoles. He's a pretty good part of the history. I don't see why they couldn't include him.
Well, this is another game, another series that I have not touched, unfortunately. I hear good things about it, but I've just never gotten around to play it. But based on from what I've heard, there's a lot you can do with him, and based on his popularity, I'm sure there's a decent following for the character, for the series itself. And should they plan to revive the series and bring in like an HD remake of Castlevania series back to the Wii U, or since they'll probably bring it over to the Virtual Console, I'm not sure if it's there already. There's a potential for him to be revived through Smash 4. I mean, I don't see why not. Yeah,
I think like in terms of characters, like he would make an absolutely amazing character. He would play a bit like Link, where his main weapon would be the whip, but then he could just swap out his other weapons for his special moves. But just the versatility with his like moveset would be, I think it would be not only as a fun character to use, but also pretty viable in like tournament settings as well. Be spacing like up front, and also do some keep away as well. Yeah, since Snake is out of the picture, or pretty much assumed out of the picture, Konami's next biggest character would be Simon Belmont. So if they do want to get representation in, Simon Belmont would be the way to go. Next up, we got, I just combined these three together. We got Zero, Protoman, and Bass, all from the Mega Man series. I know a lot of people want to see some of these characters because they're just as popular. Zero has shown up in other fighting games such as Marvel vs. Tatsunoko and also Marvel vs. Capcom. Protoman, really popular character from Mega Man series, and Bass as well. The only doubts I have is I don't feel Protoman is going to be showing up. I just put him there just to round out 3, but he's been confirmed for DLC like, I guess a skin for the Mii characters. So that's going to be the closest it's going to be getting to Protoman. And Zero, I just don't like Zero. I'm just saying that I don't like Zero. He's annoying as hell in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I do not want to relive that experience, so just because it says that Zero is not showing up. And Bass could be cool, although he might be a bit too cloney of Mega Man, because he also has Treble. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, Mega Man's one of those series where there's just so many different adaptations of it that you could really have any of them represent the character in question. For instance, Protoman. Yes, we've got the Mii costume coming up that is the Protoman costume, so that kind of seems to give way to the fact that he wouldn't show up. But there are other versions of Protoman. There's Protoman EXE, which, while a little similar, still looks different enough and is part of the Mega Man series that they could work with that. I think, that given that there's just so much that they can do with the Mega Man series, it's not out of the question that any of these characters could be in. Protoman as Protoman EXE would be pretty great. Bass is also pretty great because there's just a lot you can do with him. Sure, if you have Bass, it's a little too similar to Mega Man, except with the fact that he's got Forte, was it, right?
No, Forte was his Japanese name.
Yeah, Treble.
Treble is his buddy's name.
So he's got Treble, but once again, if you just switch to a different Mega Man game, you've got Forte EXE, where he's this really badass, cloaked, dark energy using kind of person. He'd be a little more similar towards, I guess, Lucario or Mewtwo in that aspect, but with the EXE version, there's a lot you can do with the attacks from battle chips and shit like that. There's just so much potential there. As for Zero, I'd actually rather see Zero represented in a different sense, such as his what was the this actual Mega Man Zero games.
Oh yeah.
Or ZX games. That version of Zero would be pretty cool to see. It's a different style than Mega Man. It's a different style than Mega Man X and Mega Man than the EXE series. There's the same amount of movesets that you can pull from, and those are fan favorite games. I know very few people have bad things to say about those games, at least as far as I know. Everyone that I've ever heard talk about those games can only praise them. So there's just such a wide potential with this group of characters that you could do literally anything with them. And with the love that they're giving Mega Man, I wouldn't say it's a far shot to see that kind of love spread to another character.
Well, I'm personally biased towards Zero, considering that he was my main back in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And actually, I was just reminded that there was the Project X Zone that came out for 3DS a couple years back, where Mega Man and Zero made their cameo in the game.
Don't mind game. I love that game. That was not a good game.
But Zero's already a well-established character in the fighting series genre, with Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Tatsunoko.
I can only blame myself for this, but the game's called Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. I made a mistake first, and I think Jeff ended up just copying what I'm saying, but Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, I love that game. Please forgive me for screwing up that game's name.
He has a wide range of potential for movesets. He has a good following. He's a very popular character. And my bias dictates that he should get the slot if they decide to extend the Mega Man representation. But again, there's so much potential you can do with just any character that shows up in the Mega Man series that it could go either way, honestly. But again, my bias leans towards Zero.
Yeah, Brad brings up an excellent point. The only way I would allow Zero to get in, and I don't know, I'm still talking like this, I got the final say on this, but if it was the Mega Man Zero Series Zero, I'd be okay with that. Kind of along on a topic, if there's gonna be more than one representation from a Capcom franchise, you'd think they would stray away a bit from Mega Man, try someone else, let's say someone from Street Fighter, someone from Resident Evil, or I wish I listed someone, but let's say, I don't know, clean slate character would be like Ryu. You think Ryu would make a good chance in this game?
I don't think so. Simply because it's just translating the inputs that you have to do with Street Fighter to the simple B and A's that you do with the Smash series. It's not a faithful recreation of the character. You could put in his moves, you could make them sound and look exactly the same, but I don't think any Street Fighter fan would be happy with that. And so putting in a Street Fighter character just seems out of the question. Now, a Resident Evil character would be really interesting, but especially with it's one of Capcom's like top-selling franchises, and there have been games that have sold decently on Nintendo systems, but their focus is more so towards Sony systems. There's not a lot of Nintendo love going on with Resident Evil, so putting them as Smash Bros. Characters, even if they're extremely requested, I don't see them being top priority for them.
Well, I've played a decent amount of the Street Fighter series. I feel like it would be a shame to have to oversimplify Ryu's moveset from the series into Smash Bros. I mean, it's just like Ryu's been known as this not technical character, but I mean, just being able to pull off his moves in Street Fighter requires a lot of precision, and then just oversimplifying it would just kind of make the character seem a little dull, in my opinion. But if you were to pick a character from the Street Fighter series to represent for Capcom, I would hands down go with Ryu. He's the most iconic character, one of the most iconic characters in the Street Fighter series. Regarding Resident Evil, I haven't heard much of an appeal to Resident Evil in the Nintendo franchise. I know they've been popular within the PlayStation saga, but I mean, again, they're all really well-known characters, all of the Resident Evil protagonists, so there's that potential to bring them in as well.
Alright, yeah, I was just saying Resident Evil just because I try and get, like, you know, another Capcom franchise out there. But, I don't know. You get, Brad, you brought up a really good pointer for you. I didn't think about, like, oversimplifying. I just thought, like, oh, well, it on a weird sense, it'd be kind of a clone of Mario. Like, it has, like, the tornado thing, he has fireballs. It's got the uppercut, kind of similar to Mario. But, yeah, I'm not sure how are the odds would be of another Capcom character showing up. I'm going to just combine these next two because these are both indie characters. We got Shovel Knight and Shantae. Both have significant representation on Nintendo's consoles. Shovel Knight showed up on Wii U and 3DS. Really big, great, indie game. I think, Brad, it got, like, what, #1 on your list for 2014?
I loved Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight was by far one of the greatest games I ever played. And as soon as it drops on the PlayStation 4, I'm buying it again and I'm playing through it again. I love that game so much. If you haven't played that game, you are missing out on the game of the year. I don't care what anyone else says. You're missing out on that game when you're not playing that game. And to have Shovel Knight in Smash Bros. Wii U, in Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS, it makes no sense not to include it. It makes so little sense that I would have to fly to Japan and I'd have to punch everyone who works at Nintendo. Everyone. Even if they had no part in the decision on that. If they didn't put him in, they deserve to get punched. Every one of them. He's just such a well-made character and such a well-made game. And it does so well no matter what system it's on. Everyone loves it. Nintendo would be fools to not include Shovel Knight.
Jeff?
Well, clearly there was no unbiased decision making there. But anyways, I've personally never played the game, and based on what Brad was just saying, it looks like I'm missing out.
Oh yeah.
I might pick it up, but anyways, I've seen Shovel Knight gameplay. I have seen the reviews. I've seen like people commenting about the game, and I've heard nothing but good things about it. And it seems like it has a massive following behind it. I feel like if it were to be included in Smash 4, not only would it be to appeal to the fans, but also it would probably show the Nintendo support to the indie developers, indie programmers, showing that they have a good backing on their indie developers and have people encouraged to keep developing all these indie games. Again, big enough following, they'll make it in. And from what I've heard, Shovel Knight has a massive following, so they're probably up there in potentials to make it through the ballot.
Yeah, absolutely. If like any character like truly deserves a spot, and like it would be Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight has such a big following. Its graphics and gameplay definitely a throwback to classic NES games, combination of Mega Man and DuckTales. It's everything that made NES great, all like combined into one great character. Definitely a versatile moveset. You can use spells, you can use a shovel. It would be great, yeah. And like Jeff said, it would be cool to see like like the indie love if like Nintendo and Sakurai picks this. Like, yeah, look how big this character got, and they truly deserve it. And along with that, Shantae, really big following, just as well. Way Forward produced a lot of games back on the Game Boy Color, showed up on the Wii U, a lot of other like consoles as well. Definitely following there. They even have like on the official Twitter, they showed like support, like doing retweets of like fans saying like Shantae for Smash. They even have an official like chart of like possible color schemes you could pick for the character from Way Forward himself. So that's like they definitely want to carry in as well. What do you guys think?
This is another one that I fully support. Way Forward is one of my favorite developers. They're kind of like, they're a little bit better than Platinum in my eyes. I love that, like, my stance on Platinum is they never make a truly great game, but they make really good games. They make really fun games to play. Way Forward, they've made great games. They've also made a lot of games. But I love their style. I love that when they do make games, they put their heart and soul into it, and Shantae is no exception. I've played like one Shantae game in my life. I backed the recent one that was on Kickstarter. I'm all gung-ho for Shantae and Smash. I would totally tweet him in that campaign if I wasn't really lazy.
Jeff?
Well, this is another character I'm not familiar with. I haven't played any of the series. I don't have much input other than, again, major following. It sounds like there's a major following behind the character. There's a potential for this character to make it through. Again, it'll show support to the indie developers that Nintendo, the franchise, and other developers, first-party developers, are backing the indie developers to keep producing all these wonderful games that are coming out.
Yeah, definitely. Like, one of these two characters to make it in, it'll definitely show the indie love that Nintendo should show as, like, an appreciation for their hard work and put it onto Nintendo consoles. Next one is Rayman. Rayman showed up as a trophy in Smash 4. Definitely big following character. There's also been sometimes due to that like leak that showed up like a month ago that like, oh, Rayman's gonna be a DLC character, but no, it just turns out to be a really convincing leak that fooled just about everyone. Before I get started on like how I feel about him, I want to hear what you guys want to say about him. I
love Rayman. Rayman was one of my favorite. It was I think it was my first PC. No, it wasn't my first PC game. It was definitely one of my early memory PC games, and I loved his console games. And he's just had such a hard run lately. With the exception of Mega Man Legends. Mega Man Legends has been a godsend for Rayman, but other than that, he's just had such bad luck in the whole game industry. I'd love to see him as a character. He's got a lot of potential. Rayman Legends, although there was a big fiasco with it on the Wii U, it did amazingly well. People absolutely love that game. And for them to not include Rayman, I'd understand, but there's just so much, there's a lot you can do with him. He's got a fan base. They just really have to work things out with Ubisoft, and I know Ubisoft and Nintendo aren't the best of friends. So I don't see a lot of potential for him. As much as I hate to say that, I don't think he's gonna make it.
Well, for Rayman, I mean, I've never played the series either, but I've seen a lot of gameplay. I've heard a lot of things about it, and I've heard good things about it. I've heard some decent things about it. It's like I've heard mixed things about the series, especially in the later years. Again, enough of a following, they can make it, and from what actually Brad just mentioned, it really heavily depends on the relationship between Nintendo and the company that owns the rights. And from what I've just heard, if Ubisoft and Nintendo aren't in good terms, then I don't see the character making it to the roster.
Yeah, because the thing that happened with Rayman Legends was that it was supposed to be a Wii U exclusive, but then they decided to delay the game in order to make it multi-platform, so it ended up showing up on other consoles as well. Ubisoft tried making it up by saying, oh, we're going to have an exclusive stuff for the Wii U, but I'm not sure how well that did. But, I don't know, for, like, in recent years, I haven't liked Ubisoft. They've been fucking up people over with, like, their games, with their, like, with their online, like, piracy platform stuff. They've messed me over some games, like Red Steel, other stuff like that.
Bad Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed, a lot of people, like, there's controversy with that. It's just, I haven't liked Ubisoft for a while. And, like, since they show, like, little appreciation for Nintendo, but despite, like, they've, like, retweeted, like, one of the comments on, like, Twitter saying, like, we love any appreciation that our fans have for Rayman, but that's about it. I think the most they'll get is the trophy. I do not like Ubisoft. Next up, a bit similar with, like, a Twitter shout-out is Banjo Kazooie. Characters that showed up on Nintendo 64, Banjo Kazooie, Banjo Tooie, also in Diddy Kong Racing, and Banjo Pilot. Really big following until Rare switched over to Microsoft, and where they came out with nuts and bolts, lowered expectations there, but still a fan favorite. On Twitter, Phil Spencer, who's the head of the Xbox division, says, I think it would be cool if Banjo was in the next Super Smash Bros. DLC. We've worked with Nintendo on Rare IP before, no issues. And he was referring to Diddy Kong Racing DS, which was still a Rare developed game, but that showed up on a Nintendo console, and this was after Microsoft bought them out. So there is a bit of a relationship there. So it's feasible that Banjo and Kazooie can show up. What we're discussing is, will he and should he? Red.
You know, I used to think that Microsoft, when it came to Rare, was the devil. I still think that Microsoft ain't great, but my opinions on their treatment of Rare has changed drastically recently, and this is all due to Platonic Games, actually, the company that was formed by ex-Rare devs. They came out in a interview saying that Microsoft has actually, like, we used to think that Microsoft just kind of shut down Rare. They put them on the Kinect sports games, they didn't give them any freedom, and that was the end of that. But what came out was that Microsoft is actually very supporting of Rare and their IPs, and like Banjo-Kazooie and all that stuff, and they want Rare to make these games. The thing is, Rare's way of developing games isn't exactly very secure when it comes to making money. I don't know the exact wordings that he used, but basically what he said was that Microsoft was really just waiting for Rare to have the groundwork to show that this thing can be done, that it can be done reasonably, and that they can make the money off of it. And they're willing to let Rare do whatever they want with their IPs. So hearing Phil Spencer say that, hey, we'd love to put Banjo-Kazooie, we'd love Banjo-Kazooie to be in Smash, we've worked with Nintendo, there's been no problems, I fully believe him. I fully believe that he wants that. And I know that there's an outcry for it. People go nuts for Banjo-Kazooie. I know that he's gonna have they're gonna have a shit ton of votes on this ballot. And if that relationship is as well is as good as Phil Spencer says it is, I am highly expecting Banjo Kazooie to make it. I really hope he has an alternate color that imitates the Duck Hunt combo, since they have a Banjo Kazooie color.
That would be great. Jeff?
Well, that's actually something I was thinking. Like, if they brought in Duck Hunt, I have no reason to doubt they wouldn't bring in Banjo Kazooie, since they're a pretty similar combination in that sense. But I haven't played this game, but I know there's a huge following to this. I've seen people speedrun this game before, and it seems like a really fun game to play. Again, going back to that huge following of people want this character to come to the game, and since they recently announced that they're bringing over N64 games to the Virtual Console, officially to the Wii U as opposed to through the Wii emulator on the Wii U. Once it comes out, it's gonna revive that following once again, make it even stronger than before. So I highly expect to see a major top runner as in the ballot on their part. And again, if according to what Brad was saying, I'm not too familiar with the relationship between Rare and Nintendo, but apparently they're on good terms right now. So there's always that potential as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Since Donkey Kong 64 is a Rare developed game, there had to be some kind of negotiations to get that back on the Wii U and Virtual Console. So there have definitely been in recent talks. So I think getting Banjo Kazooie showing up in Smash would be fantastic. You would get the same kind of hype and excitement just out of Mega Man and Snake, I feel. If there's ever going to be an oh shit moment, it would be Banjo Kazooie. I don't think no other character would get people as hype as this guy. And he would be great. There's definitely more animal representation in Smash Bros. There's been a lot of males and females and robots. You need more animals. Duck Hunt's not enough. Next up we got Lloyd Irving from Tales of Symphonia.
My man.
I haven't played this. I'm gonna leave it to you guys. I have nothing to talk about this character. I'm sorry.
I mean, I have nothing to say either. I've never really.
Okay, Jeff, your turn.
Well, this was actually the first game I've ever played in the Tales series, back in the GameCube days. When I first played it, it was a very interesting game, and Lloyd was the character that I would pick to control throughout the series. And then, again, he has a huge following. He has huge potential for movesets based on his different skills and arts that he learns throughout the series. I don't know if you guys are are aware of the Super Smash Flash that's out. Apparently, there's a decent following for that game as well, and Lloyd is also in that game with his own moveset. And the way that they set up that moveset, it seems very viable. It flows very well with the character. It fits the character's persona based from the game. Again, Lloyd he's a dual wielding sword user, so I feel like he has a good chance at making it to the roster as well. There's a huge following for the Tales of Symphonia series, Tales in general. It is a main character from Namco Bandai as well, so they also have that under their belt. They don't have to worry about the rights for the game, for the character. I'm sorry. And again, my bias, I really want to see Lloyd come into the roster.
All right. I think that's about all at least me and Brad could talk about. And Jeff, you definitely put a well-placed argument for Lloyd. So I haven't played the game, but so how would you think his style would change up from any other sword-wielding character? He has two swords. Does he do anything else?
He relies heavily on his on both swords and his neutral attacks. It ranges between short stabs to thrusts, slashes. He uses both swords to his advantage, where he'll spin around as one of his attacks in the Tales of Symphonia game. His specials, his art, what they're referred to as arts in the game. It ranges from Demon Fang, which is a projectile energy-based attack that goes a long range. It could come out from 1 to 3 times in a row. And his other arts revolve around his techniques around his dual swords. So one rendition is called Tiger Fang, where he will slash upwards, and then slash downwards once again to bring the character back to the ground.
Mhm.
And the whole basis of the game is to combo this basic art, which is referred to these basic skills, Demon Fang, Tiger Fang, etc., into what are known as, I believe they're called Master Arts or Alpha Arts or something. They're essentially able to be comboed together from one into the other. Again, he relies heavily on the use of both swords, either through energy, projectile based, or like close range, quick follow-ups. So there's always, I see Lloyd being a very heavy close-up melee character with his swords. He generally plays up close. I see that being his primary moveset. But there's also that potential to be a spacing character with the use of that Demon Fang.
Alright. So, if you could like use a few current Smash Bros. Characters to describe him, how would you do that? Would it be more like a Robin, or like a Link, or a Marth?
I would see him more as a Marth than anything in regards to a type of speed that the character would play as.
Mhm.
Again, going into his potential for combos.
Yeah.
Lloyd, the main purpose of the character is to combo from one art to the other.
Yeah.
So Marth being the quick character that he is, especially back in like the melee brawl days, like he would combo for days.
Oh yeah.
And Lloyd would revolve around the same aspect. And of course, being a heavy combo hitter, there's bound to be some nerfs in other areas of his character. But yeah, I would say Marth would be the closest representation to what Lloyd would play as.
Alright, yeah, that sounds cool. Definitely looking forward to hearing more about Lloyd. Maybe.
I mean, if you want a decent like rendition of what Lloyd could play as, you can go check out that game I mentioned, Super Smash Flash 2.
Yeah.
I heard that it's getting a really decent following nowadays, especially since they're coming out with a newer version of it.
Yeah.
And it's going so far as they're probably they might have a booth set up at Super Smash Con.
Oh, word.
Last I heard, I know they have their Twitter account, I believe. I don't know the tag off the top of my head, but I believe they mentioned that they would probably show up at Super Smash Con or at some other convention where they'll show up with a small tournament or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to get a basic like feel for what he could potentially look like, look into that game. He's one of the characters there.
All right, definitely will do. Next up we got Wonder Red from the Wonderful 101, a Platinum game exclusive to Wii U. Came out, I believe, last year now.
I think so.
Yeah, about last year. Definitely cool game. Although it would have to do some unique things because the game was all centered about using a lot of heroes and to like construct really big like fists and swords and that sort of deal into like weapons and attack with that. Although I believe I haven't played the game yet because I haven't been able to install it on my Wii U because I ran out of space, so I have to buy a hard drive for that. But I do have a download code, so as soon as I get an opportunity, I want to play that. Right, you played that, right?
I played it a bit, yeah.
All right. What are your thoughts on Wonder Bread?
Wonder Bread. It's as I stated previously, my views on Platinum. I love Platinum. I love their games. I'll admit I didn't really get far into Wonderful 101. Out of all their games, it's kind of the one that's just not really my playstyle. But it's a quirky little game. It's fun. It's got a lot of neat stuff. I was personally rooting for a Wonder Red character with the original roster. I think it'd be really neat to see him. I think they could do some interesting things with him. Although with the taking out of multiple controlled characters like the Ice Climbers and transformations, it would get a little interesting on how they would set him up. But I'd be totally down for it. I'd be really down to see more Platinum love.
I actually do not have much input in this as I have not played Wonderful 101. But like I've said before, if it's a big enough following, there's no reason why it shouldn't make it.
Alright. Yeah, I feel Wonder Red does have a pretty good chance of making it. I mean, there's already been like a lot of like Wonderful 101 mentions in the game. There's been trophies there's even been like a few songs that show up on stages, like Mario Galaxy stage has like the final boss theme as one of the rotations in the playlist. So yeah, I feel it has definitely a good chance of making it in. Definitely has, like, if it gets him in, probably gets a bigger chance for a sequel or something. Related to Platinum Games is also Bayonetta, really big character that showed up recently on Bayonetta 2, which was exclusive to Nintendo Wii U. Also came with Bayonetta 1. Definitely has a big following there. Has a lot of Nintendo references in there. So it'd be kind of cool if Nintendo and Sakurai kind of like, you know, return a favor by including Bayonetta in there. And definitely has like, she has really big versatility when it comes to movesets. But I'll get back to that later. Brad.
Bayonetta would be really cool to see. As you stated, she's got a lot of versatility in movesets. I was playing through Bayonetta 1 fully for the first time on the Wii U. I dabbled with it on the PS3, but that's kind of the worst version you can play, apparently. I was playing it on the Wii U. I really enjoyed it. I was really terrible at it, but I'm really terrible at pretty much all of Platinum's games. I love it, though. She's a genuinely good character, and to jump on that whole strong female characters in gaming thing, it'd be really great to see her representation in Smash. I know a lot of people would really like that, both weirdos on the internet and people who actually like her as a character. And given their kind of like, I think Platinum's got a bit of an exclusivity deal with them, I'm not quite sure, but we know they're in kind of, they seem to be in good good relations. People love Bayonetta. They really hyped the shit out of Bayonetta 2 when it was coming out. I really think that, I don't know if Bayonetta's got a really good chance, because as much as I love it, there's a lot of other characters that I think would be better fits for the game itself. But I also wasn't one to think that Snake was going to get in Brawl, so I'm not going to count it out.
Jeff, any input?
Bayonetta, I mean, I've never played the game either, but I've seen gameplays, I know there's a following for the character. Based on what I've seen, there's a viable moveset for the character. The following is strong. It's not one of the stronger potential characters to make it into the series. There's definitely others that have a stronger chance than Bayonetta. But again, I had no idea Snake was gonna make it into Brawl, and look what happened. So there's always that potential for Bayonetta to make a surprise entrance.
I feel that Bayonetta, if she gets in, she wouldn't be much of a surprise to me, just because I'm aware of like the relationship between Platinum and Nintendo, thanks to Wonderful 101 and the recent Bayonetta 2 game. But I really hope that she makes it in, mainly because Smash 4 could use a good dosage of crazy, you know? Because Marvel vs. Capcom 3 had Dante, and that had a lot of like cool heavy combos. Even PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale had Raiden, went all crazy there. So Smash 4 should get Bayonetta. And I've beaten Bayonetta 1 recently, and I wouldn't imagine how much I would have loved that game, because I was completely in love with No Good Rising Revengeance. And this game just felt like, kind of like, definitely had that influence of craziness to it, and I adore that, and I would definitely love seeing that in Smash 4. Okay, next up, or I guess the final one I got on the list for third party is Monster Hunter and Felyne. It could be either or. Monster Hunter has been an exclusive, like, console contract with Nintendo, so recent iterations of the game like Monster Hunter 3, Ultimate, and recently Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, exclusive to Nintendo. Super huge franchise in Japan. It sells like crazy there, and it's picking up some steam in the States as well, along with the rest of the country. Definitely a popular game, as when it comes to like movesets, there's just so much you can take out of there. Actually, it would be, I imagine, pretty hard to nail exactly what a Monster Hunter could do, just because there's just so much you could draw out of there. Because he has so many weapons you could pick. You could go bow gun, charge blade, dual blades, hammer, hunting horn, so much crazy stuff there. So I feel if there was a way to like kind of like condense that down, you could pick the Felyne, which is like a little cat buddy that goes on you with quests and help like gather stuff. You can also fight as well. Brad, what do you think?
I think a Monster Hunter representation would be really cool, especially with Capcom being all super supportive with Nintendo with Monster Hunter 4 and Monster Hunter 3U, or Monster Hunter 4U and Monster Hunter 3. I kind of picture its movesets similar to, maybe a little similar to Shulk's. I'm not quite sure. I picture it kind of either you have groups of weapons, so you have like the sword and shield and the bow gun and all that stuff, and the bees do different attacks with them, or you use down B to switch weapons, so you cycle from a sword and shield to bow gun to long blade, whatever, and you change what your group of weapons are with the custom moves. That's kind of how I'd picture how I would see that character working. It's not quite transformations, but it's also not quite like the Ice Climber's Dilemma. It could work. I'm not entirely believing in the idea that it could work. But if we're going to get a Monster Hunter character, I'd much rather see an actual hunter than I would rather see a feline. But given that the feline's a little more cartoony, a little more jokesy, it probably has the better chance than the hunter himself. Or her.
Well, for me, I would say for Monster Hunter, my brief history with it, I've only played it a few times here and there. Never really caught my attention, but the vast amount of customization potential for that character is just overwhelming. And being able to implement that into Smash 4 is going to definitely be a challenge. And the way you mentioned it, Brad, that seems like the simplest and most rational way to go about it. And from what you described, it seems like a middle ground between like transformation and the Monado arts that Shulk uses. It's just I feel like it would be kind of weird how they would implement it in that sense. But again, there's just like that vast potential for this character over the feline. I feel like the Monster Hunter the avatar that you use would have a better chance of making it, just because there's such a huge following behind it. I mean, I'm just behind the series in general. I know I've had people try to push me to at least try out the game, the one that just came out, and it's a huge hit over in Japan. So I have a feeling they have a good chance of making it. I just don't know how they would implement it.
Yeah, that would absolutely be the hardest thing to nail, because you would have to like make sure that, like, if you switch weapons, then would that also potentially change the normal attacks as well? And then if you do that, that would only just increase the development time of that. And if it turns out to be way too much work, Sakurai would be like, we can't do this, is way too much for one DLC character, because that character could potentially be like 2, 3, or even more characters combined into one, and that's just, it's a lot of work. So that's why I brought in Felyne, because, you know, at least that's an established character, or like type of character, and that way you can just work around that. And you can throw in some like references to like, I guess, normal stuff you would see with a normal hunter. It's just a bit more tangible, I feel. But yeah, it would be cool to see him, and with how big it is in Japan, I would definitely see Monster Hunter showing up really high up on the ballot. Before we get to the final section, any other third-party guys you want to see in?
For me, going back to the Tales of Symphonia category, I would say Kratos. You guys probably aren't familiar with this, but Kratos is another potential character you can play as, and he runs a sword and shield combo. So just based off of sword and shield alone, there's the vast majority of different movesets you can use, counters, parrying, for instance. And along with that, the arts system that was implemented before, he's able to combo. And he's more seen as a magic swordsman as well. So he's able to implement different magic spells into his moveset, like Fireball, Windblade being one. He has the ability to heal. He has the ability to apply status buffs and debuffs. So there's always that potential that he's a little bit more versatile than Lloyd. So if they decide to throw in a more versatile character, I would say Kratos would make it over Lloyd. But if they just want a sheer rushdown character, someone to kind of mimic Marth in that sense, Lloyd would take the spot over him. But that's just me. Like I said, I love the Tales of Symphonia series. I would love to see a character from there be represented. And I feel like Lloyd and Kratos are the two more popular characters in the series to be represented. Considering that it is also the only Tales game, the more popular Tales game that showed up in the Nintendo. I know Tales of Fantasia made it to the Super Nintendo back in the 90s, but they haven't received that big of a following. So, I mean, Lloyd or Kratos, honestly.
You know, it's kind of a tough call, but because I don't really know who I'd want to see, but if we're talking third party, there's one third party that I know I would want to see. I wouldn't say above all else, but above many of the other selections that we've listed. I want to see a Chrono Trigger representative. Like, Chrono Trigger is not only one of Square Enix's most heralded games, it's also one of the most heralded games on the Super Nintendo. People love it. You have a lot of different characters that can do really cool things. It's such a good opportunity, and if they're in good relations with Square Enix, which they should be after Bravely Default and Bravely Second and the Theat Rhythm games and all this other stuff, they really should reach out to them and be like, hey, we really want Chrono, we want Frog, Magus, anyone. Give us someone from that game. Our fans love that game, your fans love that game, let's make this happen. That's who I'd want to see.
I think that would be pretty cool. I mean, like, I guess the character that stands out most to me would be probably Chrono himself. But if we get some, like, more Square Enix action in, like, Smash Bros., that'd be pretty cool, because they haven't been represented yet. And they do have a history of Nintendo going back all the way to the NES. So it'd be cool if they got some kind of character from a franchise. Probably, I'd say something maybe from Dragon Quest might be a bit more likely, because that's probably in Japan. But who am I to say? And our last category, and our shortest one, unless you guys came across any other ones of these type, is stupid, impossible characters that are never going to show up in Smash Bros. And it's self-explanatory. These characters not going to happen. You can say as much as you want, but nah. I only have one on here. Maybe you guys seen other characters, but I got Goku from from Dragon Ball Z. And I'm pretty sure... I don't need to explain who Goku is. Everyone knows who Goku is. He's got Kamehameha, Super Saiyan, that sort of stuff. People believe that he has a good chance because of Namco Bandai relationship, since Namco helped develop the game, and plus Namco's been in charge of making the games as well. Like recently they got Dragon Ball's Universe. I'm not 100% clear how their licensing works with that, because they probably got permission from, I guess, the owners of Dragon Ball Z, which I'm inclined to believe is Weekly Shonen Jump or Toei Animation, one of those two. But it just feels extremely out of place with Smash Bros. Just, you got an anime character in there. I mean, there's anime-like characters in Smash Bros, but to have a character that's flat out not originally even a video game would be just weird to me. I mean, the only way I would see it somewhat acceptable would be Kid Goku, because he's not as, I guess, overpowered. And plus, he could do a lot of stuff with, like, you know, the Nimbus, his like, bow staffing Bob, but just, no. What do you guys think?
I completely agree. Goku's not happening. I mean, if you think Goku has a chance, you're just an idiot. I'm saying it right now. Internet, come at me. If you think Goku has a chance, he's an idiot. You're an idiot. I mean, Goku's kind of an idiot too. But, I mean, sure, there have been Dragon Ball Z games on Nintendo consoles before, and they've been really good. The Dragon Ball Z RPG games were kind of my jam on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, yeah.
It's just not happening. It's not. It's ridiculous to even think it's happening. You're ridiculous. Stop being dumb.
I agree as well. I think if you think Goku has any chance of making it, then you're just stupid. Hence the category name, stupid and impossible. But I mean, I just feel like it's just so far-fetched of an idea. It just doesn't belong in the Smash universe. I mean, again, there's a massive following for it, don't get me wrong, but I don't think, even if there was a major following, I don't think that would be developed as a character. I don't think he would make it, period.
You know what's weird? Abraham Lincoln has more of a chance of getting him than Goku. Just because of Codename Steam. That's just, I'm just putting that out there. But,
hey, you never know.
I mean, there's a bunch of other characters that came in, and like I can't take them as seriously, but like Master Chief, a lot of people are like, yeah, put in Master Chief. It'll be like Mario versus Sonic versus Master Chief. Shut up.
That's a good idea, in my opinion. That's a totally different company, first of all. That's over Microsoft, and I do not think Microsoft is gonna like let go of one of the most iconic characters in their company. Especially over to Nintendo, one of their main competitors. That's not happening.
Especially when they have yet to copy Sony and make their own Microsoft Smash Bros.
Exactly. With
such iconic characters, like the Master Chief and the Gear of War.
The Gear of War. I'm the car from Forza.
It's just stupid. I mean, another character in there that I think kind of fits is any Kingdom Hearts character. I mean, I know there have been Kingdom Hearts games on Nintendo systems, but Kingdom Hearts has primarily been a Sony franchise. It's multi-plat for like half of the series, but it's also Sony for pretty much the entire series, with the exception of a mobile game, a web game, and 2 really bad DS games.
Oh, and a 3DS game.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the 3DS game. The 3DS game is alright.
Oh, the Game Boy Advance game.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean... Okay, so about half of the series has been Nintendo, half of it's been Sony. And it's just not gonna happen. We have a bigger chance of a Dragon Quest character who isn't even popular this side of the world than we do having a Kingdom Hearts character pop in my personal opinion.
Very, very valid arguments, and I would agree, except for the fact that, again, going back to Super Smash Bros. 2, they did implement Sora in that rendition of Smash. He has a viable moveset, and even implemented a Final Smash based around his I forget what it's called, but where he transforms into like his final form or whatever, using a specific Keyblade. But I mean, he has the potential for a moveset, he has the potential for a Final Smash, but again, just the sheer fact that it's primarily a Sony franchise, a Sony game, and especially since Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out for Sony, I don't see it coming.
Microsoft as well. It's going to be Microsoft, okay. But not Wii U.
Okay, I didn't know that part, but since it's not going to come out for Wii U, I don't see it coming out for a Smash 4 character.
Yeah, I'm not denying that there's no potential. I'm not denying that there's a potential there for a moveset. There's a good potential for Sora's moveset, but yeah, it's just not happening. People should just forget about it. I'd much rather have Lana or Sia from Hyrule Warriors than ever Sora, and they have a much better chance.
I'm also inclined to believe that Square Enix doesn't even have the rights for Sora and like characters that show up in Kingdom Hearts, because that's Disney.
Yeah, I actually think you're right. I think Disney owns anything Kingdom Hearts that's not Square Enix.
Yeah, so
if it's not a Final Fantasy character, Disney owns it.
Yeah, so they would have to go to Disney, and I believe Square Enix as well, because they do take part in that franchise. So that would be a pretty big legal headache. So yeah. Anyone else?
I know there's a small following for the Black Mage from the original Final Fantasy for the SNES. He was also implemented in Smash Flash 2 and has a good moveset. Again, it's very, very far-fetched and very out there, but there is a following for Black Mage, and it's a good representation for Final Fantasy. I mean, you could always get one of the more iconic characters, like from Final Fantasy 3, 6, and 5 that came out for the SNES, but that was years ago and hasn't really been remade in the recent years. But I feel like one of those characters would make it as a Final Fantasy representation. I don't see any of the later ones from 7 through 13 making it, since it was primarily Sony. I mean, again, it's very small following, but it could happen.
I don't feel that's too much of a stretch, because Black Mage did show up in Mario Hoops 3 on 3, and plus, he does show up in more than one game, so, like, he has just as much of a chance as a Chocobo making it in Smash Bros. In fact, I kind of want a Chocobo in Smash Bros.
I'd main the fuck out of a Chocobo. But I agree. If they did reach out to Final Fantasy, he has a classic Black Mage has just as much a chance of getting in as any other Final Fantasy character, and maybe more so just due to the fact that it's classic and they've got that whole Mega Man, Pac-Man thing going on. They'd go for a more classic character. But really, I think if I'm going back to a previous statement, if they reach out at all for a Square Enix character, it's got to be a character from Chrono Trigger. Like, there's just so much potential there and so much fan love to reach out to Square Enix and not go for that series as a foolish move on my decision.
Do you feel that the Chrono series is bigger than Final Fantasy or even Dragon Quest?
I think it's bigger than Dragon Quest on our side of the world. Dragon Quest is really big in Japan, and I understand that.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But and Final Fantasy is also really big. But when it comes to Square Enix games on Nintendo consoles, short of Super Mario RPG, it's Chrono Trigger's pretty much runner-up there. Like, that's kind of the game everyone really thinks about, in my opinion. I'm probably very wrong about that, but I know that there's a lot of love there. There's a lot of fans want something from that series. If they're gonna have a Square Enix character, I think the vast majority would rather have a Chrono Trigger character. Again, I could be wrong. I don't speak for the people. If I spoke for the people, we'd be fucked. We'd be screwed. Why do you think I don't speak for the trees anymore? I was fired being the Lorax.
There don't be chocobos in the game.
Oh god. But I mean, like, when you think Nintendo and Square Enix, I mean, the first thing that comes to your mind is, again, Super Mario RPG and Chrono Trigger. You don't really think Final Fantasy because they only got up to Final Fantasy VI before they started their partnership with Sony. So I would say the biggest likelihood would be pulling from Chrono Trigger or Super Mario RPG if they had to from Square Enix. More so Chrono Trigger because it's still very, very popular over Super Mario RPG. They both have a huge following, but again, it could go either way, honestly.
Alright, I think we've kind of exhausted that topic. So before we close out, I just wanted to bring up that there's not only characters that we have to look forward to. As we've seen, there's going to be Mii outfits, there's going to be a new stage, there's going to be a tournament mode. Is there any other kind of DLC you guys want to see in the game, whether it's a new stage, new outfits, new modes, or anything else?
I'm not really sure. I'm not a super hardcore player of Smash Bros, but I'm fairly pleased with the package that I got. Nothing really comes to mind as something that I really want changed from the game or added to the game besides more characters.
For me personally, I loved Subspace Emissary back in Brawl. I spent hours on that, and I spent hours customizing with the stickers underneath the trophy. I would like to see some sort of a story mode come to life in Smash 4. But I feel like since there's so many more characters compared to Brawl, it would be very hard to come up with some storyline or to accommodate all the characters, the entire roster. That's just my personal opinion. I would love to see a story mode. Bandai Namco has made decent storylines in the past, so if they can partner up and work together on a storyline, that'd be fantastic.
That'd be pretty cool. There's a few things I do want to see in the game. I feel that it's a bit of a shame that there are a few like 3DS exclusive stages that we won't be able to see in like high definition on the Wii U, like the Earthbound stage, like Magnificent, I believe it's called, and the F-Zero stage. Like those stages, I would love to play in like high definition. Those stages are amazing. I mean, it'll be hard to get some Wii U stuff onto 3DS, but if it's like vice versa, I mean, it's a bit unfair to 3DS players, but I would really love to play those stages. And along with that, it'd be cool if we saw a lot more retro stages. Like, so far we've only seen like one Nintendo 64 stage, like, carried over, and that was what? Jungle Japes? No, not Jungle Japes. Or Congo, whatever.
Congo Jungle.
That Donkey Kong stage with the barrel.
Yeah.
They should bring back some of the other stages, like the Hyrule Castle stage. That one's like really memorable.
Dreamland.
Anyone with me? Poke Floats?
Poke
Yeah.
Floats!
Jesus
Yes.
Christ, throwback.
Poke Floats, absolutely. A bit along with that, one of my personal favorites, Big Blue. I love Big Blue. Same thing with Saffron City. That one's a classic stage. You know, you have like the Sprite Pokemon popping out that little door. That'd be cool. Let's see. In terms of modes, I want to see some kind of like online like amiibo mode. Just basically just scan an amiibo and just see them fight each other. You can like win money that way or something. Almost like a horse
Gambling
race thing. Yeah, that's what I want. And maybe a bit more of an involved spectator mode. So like that way you can like hop in the game and you can like watch people play, or like like a lobby mode. That's what I want. Like 8 people could join in and kind of like take turns, like King of the Hill sort of deal. Like one wins and then loser gets out. That sort of deal. I mean, a lot of other fighting games do that, like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter does that. It'd be cool if I see that in Smash 4. Jeff, you're saying something?
I know Marvel has that as well in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Whoever has the best signal is chosen as the host, and then from there, it's just round robin. Oh, yeah, round robin, King of the Hill. Yeah. That would be amazing. I would love to see that. It would make for great casual play, and when you have like multiple friends online, just invite them all into a room and then you just play. Either you set the rules as 1v1s. More than likely, that's how much a server will be able to handle before you start to get that lag. Mm-hmm. I feel like it would also be wonderful for tournament play, tournament practice. You can just invite just a bunch of random people, or the room fills up with a bunch of random people, and it just you're able to practice with a wide variety of people.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think that might be about it, unless you guys want to have any like final words or something.
I think I'm good.
For me, I just say if you're listening to this, go vote Geno. Geno's the man.
Definitely vote for whoever you feel are most passionate about. Just please be rational when you vote. Don't waste your vote and do it on Goku or George W. Bush or Keanu Reeves. Although, as much as I want to like play as Keanu Reeves, don't put in Keanu Reeves. Just make it a sensible vote. It doesn't even matter if it's like like weak choice. If it's viable and you feel it's viable, there's going to be a following for it. So don't worry about that.
And there's only. Go ahead, finish it.
I already forgot what I was going to say.
I'm sorry. I feel so bad now.
It's cool.
I was gonna say there's only one right answer to this question, and that is Geno is love, Geno's life. So go vote Geno.
Don't vote Geno. Don't vote Geno. Don't cave in. Don't listen to this kid. He's crazy. He's just as bad as Ripley fans. There's gonna be people who are gonna vote for Ripley. Oh man, I should have added that. Stupid impossible choices. No Ripley. Please don't vote Ripley.
No, please don't. I think that's just a waste of a character slot.
Yeah. Vote Kraid. That guy's bigger, but he's cooler. That's why he needs to get in. But yeah, with that, I think that's about it. Thank you, Brad and Jeff, for joining me in this conversation. This is clocked in for a while, so this is going to be a long sit through.
Yep.
I hope you guys just didn't watch this. Like, I hope you just had it playing in the background or something. Try to make an MP3 or something available. But yeah, with that, this is New Reviews, signing off.
Goodbye, guys.
Later.
Boop.